The Nobel Peace Prize awarded this year to a Venezuelan opposition leader has injected fresh intensity into an already volatile situation. The laureate, a prominent figure of Venezuela's anti-government movement, has spent years denouncing corruption and human rights abuses under the Maduro administration. The prize elevates her profile worldwide, offers symbolic validation to the democratic opposition, and complicates the calculus for everyone involved: the Venezuelan regime, the opposition inside the country, regional neighbors, and external powers, most notably the United States. What makes this case unusual is not only the recipient's outspoken advocacy for regime change, but her public alignment with U.S. policymakers who favor robust pressure on Caracas. In recent months, Washington has stepped up operations in the Caribbean and off Venezuela's coast, describing some actions as part of counter-narcotics or anti-smuggling campaigns. Those deployments, combined with repeated inflammatory rhetoric from Washington's political leadership, have fueled fears that discussions about limited strikes or other forms of direct action could move from speculation to concrete planning. The U.S. administration has at times denied plans for strikes inside Venezuela, yet the sustained presence of naval and air assets near Venezuelan waters underscores a readiness that has alarmed many observers. For the Venezuelan opposition, the Nobel is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it confers global attention, moral legitimacy, and a protective spotlight that can complicate arbitrary reprisals by the regime. It can also strengthen diplomatic momentum for sanctions, international isolation of the government, or intensified pressure through regional bodies. On the other hand, the laureate's public praise for external pressure and her apparent willingness to coordinate with foreign actors risk undermining the opposition's domestic credibility. Many Venezuelans, including some within the broad opposition camp, worry that leaning on an external military power will be portrayed by the government as foreign meddling, allowing Maduro to rally nationalist sentiment and to crack down harder on dissent. The humanitarian stakes are high. Venezuela already endures one of the hemisphere's largest displacement crises. Further escalation that involves strikes or intensified military operations could trigger new waves of refugees, deepen shortages of essential goods, and increase civilian casualties. Reprisals against dissidents, mass arrests, and tighter information controls are among the likely immediate responses from an embattled regime seeking to reassert control. International law and regional stability are central concerns. Unilateral use of force inside a sovereign state is legally fraught and politically toxic. Even when framed as counter-narcotics or counter-terrorism, cross-border operations carry the risk of mission creep, unintended civilian harm, and wider diplomatic isolation. Neighboring countries face difficult choices. Supporting stronger measures may align with democratic aims but risks drawing them into a regional crisis. Opposing intervention may preserve regional calm but feels like abandoning democratic forces. Domestically in the U.S., the intersection of electoral politics and foreign policy further complicates decision-making. Political leaders who have publicly supported the laureate may find themselves tempted to equate moral endorsement with hard power options, while critics warn that conflating a peace prize with hawkish action distorts the prize's intent and risks instrumentalizing moral recognition for geopolitical ends. So what are the immediate questions to watch? First, whether military postures translate into kinetic operations inside Venezuela. Second, whether the Venezuelan opposition can hold together a coalition that balances the desire for decisive action with the imperative of preserving legitimacy at home. Third, how regional actors and international organizations respond, whether through mediation, humanitarian coordination, or unified diplomatic pressure. Lastly, whether the Nobel's symbolic weight helps open plausible pathways to dialogue and a negotiated transition, or whether it instead becomes a lightning rod that accelerates confrontation. In short, the Nobel Award has amplified both hope and risk. It underlines the suffering and aspirations of millions of Venezuelans, but by aligning closely with external actors who favor coercive measures, it also raises the possibility that the path away from authoritarianism becomes more dangerous, more militarized, and more unpredictable. The coming weeks will reveal whether the prize becomes a lever for safer, multilateral diplomacy, or a catalyst for a perilous escalation with broad humanitarian and geopolitical consequences.